Captain Jiwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the Earthship Pathfinder. She took a deep breath as she looked at the main screen. After 15 years of space travel, she thought she had seen everything. She was wrong. "What is that?" she asked, her voice steady despite her surprise. The object on the screen was massive. It was a ship, but unlike any ship humans had built. It was dark, with strange angles and shapes that seemed to change as they watched. It was at least 20 times bigger than the Pathfinder. Lieutenant Hanul Park looked up from his control panel. "Unknown ship, Captain. It just appeared at the edge of our scanning range." "How did it get there so fast?" asked Minji Kang, the chief engineer. "Our sensors should have detected it earlier." "I don't know," Hanul admitted. "Its technology must be far beyond ours." Jiwoo nodded slowly. This was why she had joined the Earth Alliance space program. To discover new things, to meet other beings from across the stars. But now that the moment was here, she felt a chill run down her spine. "All stations, yellow alert," she ordered. Her voice was calm, hiding the tension she felt inside. "Lieutenant Park, open communications. Let's greet our visitors." "Channel open, Captain," Hanul said after pressing several buttons on his panel. Jiwoo straightened her uniform and stepped forward. "This is Captain Jiwoo Kim of the Earth Alliance vessel Pathfinder. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We welcome contact with new civilizations." For a long moment, there was only silence. The bridge crew waited, barely breathing. Then the screen changed. The image that appeared made several crew members gasp. The being on the screen was tall, with scales that shimmered with colors that changed as it moved. It had 6 yellow eyes that blinked at different times spread across a wide face. Many arms moved behind it, each doing something different. "I am Supreme Commander Nix of the Voidborn Dominion," the alien said. Its voice was strangely musical, but also cold. "Your ship has entered space that belongs to our empire. Explain yourselves now." Jiwoo did not back down. "I am Captain Jiwoo Kim of the Earth Alliance vessel Pathfinder. We are exploring this region peacefully. We did not know this area belonged to anyone. We apologize for the mistake." The alien's 6 eyes narrowed, all focusing on Jiwoo at once. "Earth, humans," Commander Nix said slowly. "We have watched your broadcasts. Your species is primitive, yet you travel so far from your home. Interesting." The bridge was silent. Jiwoo kept her eyes on the alien commander, refusing to show fear despite the cold feeling spreading through her body. "Your ship will be boarded for inspection," Nix continued. "Do not resist. We are scanning you now." Jiwoo felt her muscles tense. "With respect, Commander, we haven't agreed to—" "Your agreement does not matter," Nix interrupted. "We have detected unusual energy from your ship. The inspection will begin in 1 rotation of your planet. Prepare yourselves." The screen went black. The alien was gone. "Captain," Hanul said quietly, "their weapons just activated. They have much more powerful weapons than we do." "I know, Lieutenant." Jiwoo sat down in her command chair. She looked around at her crew. They were scared, but trying to hide it. They were counting on her to lead them through this. "Options?" she asked. Do-hyun Lee, her first officer, stepped forward. "We could try to run, Captain. Our engines are fast." "Their ship would catch us," Minjae said, shaking his head. "And their weapons would destroy us before we got far." Sun Woo Choi, the security chief, crossed her arms. "We could fight." When everyone looked at her, she shrugged. "I know we would lose, but it might be better than letting them board us." Jiwoo considered all this. "We are explorers," she said finally. "We represent Earth out here in the stars. Our mission is to make peaceful contact with other life. This is not how I hoped first contact would go, but it is what we have." She stood up again. "We will allow them to board us. We will cooperate, but we will be careful. We need to learn more about these Voidborn. Why are they so interested in us? What do they want?" "And if they want to harm us?" Do-hyun asked. Jiwoo's face became serious. "Then we will do what humans have always done when faced with a stronger enemy. We will adapt. We will find a way." The next hours were busy as the crew prepared for the boarding. Jiwoo sent messages to every section of the ship. Everyone needed to know what was happening. Everyone needed to be ready. Late that night, when most of the crew was resting, Jiwoo stood alone in her private room. She looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, so far away now. When she left on this mission, she knew she might never see home again. Space exploration was dangerous, but she never expected danger like this. She touched the window, thinking of the billions of humans who had no idea that first contact had happened. They didn't know that a powerful alien empire had found them. They didn't know that the fate of humanity might depend on what happened on this ship in the next few days. "We will find a way," she whispered to herself. A soft sound made her turn. Do-hyun stood in the doorway. "Sorry to disturb you, Captain," he said, "but I thought you should know. We've been analyzing the scans of their ship. There's something strange." "What is it?" Jiwoo asked. "Their technology is advanced, yes, but it's different. It's not just more advanced. It's like they took a completely different path than humans did. Their science works on principles we don't understand yet." Jiwoo nodded. "Slowly. That makes sense. They evolved on a different world, with different challenges." "There's more," Do-hyun said. "We detected life signs on their ship, many thousands of them. But they're not all the same species." Jiwoo's eyes widened. "You mean?" "Yes." Do-hyun nodded. "The Voidborn aren't alone. There are many different alien species on that ship. But from the patterns we can detect, they don't seem to be equals. It looks like the others are slaves," Jiwoo finished. "An empire built on conquest." "We think so," Do-hyun agreed. "Which means we might not be meeting new friends out here in the stars, Captain. We might be meeting our future rulers." Jiwoo turned back to the window, looking at the massive alien ship that now blocked many of the stars from view. "Not if I can help it," she said softly. Humanity did not come this far to become slaves to anyone. As the hours counted down to the boarding, Jiwoo and her crew prepared for a first contact that would change the course of human history forever. Whether that change would be for better or worse remained to be seen. Tomorrow, the Voidborn would come aboard, and Jiwoo would face them, not just for herself or her crew, but for all of humanity. Captain Jiwoo Kim stood tall as she waited at the docking area with her officers. First Officer Do-hyun Lee stood on her right, while Security Chief Sun-woo Choi was on her left. Behind them were 10 crew members, all looking nervous but determined. "Remember," Jiwoo said quietly to her team, "we represent all of humanity now. Be respectful, but stay alert." The ship shook slightly as the alien vessel connected to their docking port. Metal ground against metal. The sound made Jiwoo's teeth hurt, but she kept her face calm. "They're here," Do-hyun whispered. The large door slid open slowly. Cold air rushed in, carrying a strange smell like wet stone and something sweet that Jiwoo could not name. Then the aliens entered. Commander Nix came first. He was even taller than he had looked on the screen. His scaled body towered over the humans, nearly 3 meters in height. Behind him came 4 guards, each carrying weapons that glowed with a blue light. They moved with a strange grace despite their size. "Captain," Nix said, his voice deep and musical. His 6 yellow eyes blinked in different patterns as he looked at each human in turn. "Commander," Jiwoo replied with a small bow. "Welcome aboard, the Pathfinder." Nix's eyes fixed on her. "Your cooperation is unexpected." "We are explorers," Jiwoo explained. "We prefer peace when possible." Nix made a strange clicking sound. "Very well. My team will now examine your ship and its systems. Your crew will stay in the areas we allow until we finish." "We would like to go with your team," Do-hyun said firmly but politely. All 6 of Nix's eyes turned to look at him. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Your wishes do not matter, human," Nix said. "My people have taken over 47 different civilizations across 12 galaxies. I allow you to speak only because I am curious about your kind, not because I must." Jiwoo noticed Sunwoo's hand move slightly toward her weapon. She caught Sunwoo's eye and gave a tiny shake of her head. "Not yet. We understand, Jiwoo said smoothly, but some of our systems are complex and could break if handled wrongly. Having our engineers with your team would help both of us. Nick studied Jiwoo's face for a long moment. You are very calm for a being so small and soft, Captain Kim. Very, well, one of your people may go with each of my teams. Over the next several hours, the Voidborn moved through the ship in groups of 2, each with one human guide. Jiwoo stayed with Commander Nix as he examined the bridge. Your technology is primitive, Nix commented as he touched the control panels with his long fingers. Yet you traveled far from your homeworld. Humans are curious by nature, Jiwoo replied. We want to see what's beyond the next hill, or in this case, the next solar system. Curiosity can be dangerous, Nick said. His voice was flat, but Jiwoo thought she heard something like a warning in it. Yes, she agreed. But without it, we would still be living in caves. Later, Jiwoo met with Chief Engineer Min-jae Kang in a quiet corner of the ship. The aliens had allowed them to move around, but Jiwoo was sure they were listening somehow. Captain, Min-jae whispered, they're not just looking at our ship. They're taking information from every system they touch. Jiwoo's eyes narrowed. What kind of information? Everything, our star maps, our history files, our defense plans, they're copying it all. Jiwoo felt cold. This wasn't just an inspection. It was a theft of everything humans knew, and probably the first step before an attack. She found Commander Nix in the science lab where he was examining the ship's sensors. Commander, she said firmly, your teams are taking data from our systems. That goes beyond an inspection. Nix turned all 6 eyes on her. Information has value, Captain. Consider it payment for entering our space without permission. We did not agree to this, Jiwoo said, standing her ground. There was no agreement, Nix replied coldly. There was only your surrender. Back in her private meeting room, Jiwoo gathered her top officers. They spoke in whispers, worried about being heard. They're planning something, Sunwoo said. Those aren't just weapons they carry. I saw one of them use a device that can cut through our strongest metal like it was paper. They've downloaded our complete database, Min-jae added. They know everything about Earth now, our defenses, our weaknesses. Do-hyun looked grim. What can we do, Captain? They could destroy this ship with a single shot if they wanted. Jiwoo thought hard. We need to learn more about them. Hanul, what have you found out? Lieutenant Hanul Park, who had been quiet until now, looked up from his small computer. I've been watching their communication patterns. They talk to each other in ways we can't hear. Some kind of signal that our systems can barely detect. Can you decode it? Jiwoo asked. Not all of it, Hanul admitted. But I figured out some words. They keep talking about something called the Great Fear. What is that? Do-hyun asked. I'm not sure, Hanul said. But from what I can tell, fear is very important to their species. Not just feeling it, but causing it. Their leaders are the ones who can make others feel the most fear. Jiwoo considered this. So they expect us to be afraid of them. Yes. Hanul nodded, and they seem confused that we aren't more terrified. A slow smile spread across Jiwoo's face. That gives me an idea. The next morning, Jiwoo asked to meet with Commander Nix. To her surprise, he agreed and came to the ship's meeting room. You wish to speak, Captain? Nix asked as he entered. 2 guards came with him. Weapons ready. Yes, Commander, Jiwoo said. I want to show you something about humans that your scans couldn't tell you. She nodded to Hanul, who turned on the room's screen. Images began to play. Humans running into burning buildings to save others. People standing in front of tanks. Divers swimming with huge sharks. Astronauts launching into space in early rockets that looked dangerous and poorly made. What is this? Nix asked, his voice showing interest for the first time. Human history, Jiwoo explained. Specifically, moments when humans faced great danger. Nix watched the images. Your species takes foolish risks. Perhaps, Jiwoo agreed. Or perhaps we see something beyond the risk. The alien commander turned to look at her. What do you mean? Humans feel fear, Commander, but we don't always run from it. Sometimes we run toward it. Nix made that strange clicking sound again. That is not logical. No. Jiwoo smiled slightly. It's human. She stood and walked closer to Nix, stopping just in front of him. The guards raised their weapons, but Nix waved them down. He seemed curious. Your people have conquered many worlds through fear, Jiwoo said, looking up at the towering alien. But before you decide what to do with Earth, there's something important you should understand about humans. And what is that? Nix asked, leaning down slightly. We're not very good at being afraid when we should be, Jiwoo said softly. Something changed in Nix's eyes. For just a moment, Jiwoo thought she saw a flicker of uncertainty. Explain, he demanded. Tomorrow, Jiwoo promised. Meet me on the bridge and I'll show you what I mean. I think you'll find humans are different from the other species you've met. After Nix left, Do-hyun approached Jiwoo. What are you planning, Captain? Jiwoo looked at the door where the aliens had gone. I'm going to take a risk, Do-hyun. A human risk. You're going to make him angry, Sunwoo warned. No, Jiwoo shook her head. I'm going to make him confused. And then, if we're lucky, I'm going to make him afraid. Afraid? Min-jae asked. How can we scare a being with that kind of power? Jiwoo smiled. Not with weapons or technology, with the most powerful human trait of all. Which is? Hanul asked. Hope, Jiwoo said simply. Something I don't think the Voidborn understand at all. As night fell on the ship, Jiwoo stood by the window in her room looking out at the massive alien vessel next to them. Tomorrow would decide everything, not just for her crew, but possibly for all of humanity. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt strangely calm. Perhaps this was what her ancestors had felt when they first left Africa, or first set sail across unknown oceans, or first stepped onto the surface of the moon. The unknown waited, and like all humans before, her Jiwoo would face it head-on. The morning came too quickly for the crew of the Pathfinder. Captain Jiwoo Kim had not slept much. She had spent most of the night preparing for her meeting with Commander Nix. She stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. Her crew worked, quietly around her. 2 Voidborn guards watched from the corner of the room, their 6 eyes constantly moving. He's coming, Hanul said quietly from his station. Jiwoo nodded and straightened her uniform. The door to the bridge slid open. Commander. Nix entered, followed by 4 more guards. The alien commander seemed even taller today, his scaled skin shimmering with colors that changed as he moved. Captain Kim, Nix said, you promised an explanation. Yes, Commander, Jiwoo said. Please join me. She led him to a small room just off the bridge. It was the ship's history center, where they kept records of human exploration. The wall showed images of early explorers, people in small boats crossing vast oceans, climbers on tall mountains, the first astronauts going to the moon. Before, I explain why humans aren't afraid when we should be, Jiwoo said. I need to understand something about the Voidborn. Nix tilted his large head. What do you wish to know? This great fear your people talk about, what is it exactly? The commander was silent for a moment. His eyes blinked in that strange pattern. The great fear is the foundation of our society, he finally said. It is how we determine who leads and who follows. Those who can create the most fear in others rise to the top. So fear is how you control others, Jiwoo said. It is efficient, Nix replied. Fear is universal. All species feel it when faced with danger or pain or death. It is the perfect tool for control. Jiwoo nodded slowly. That explains a lot. But you see, Commander, humans have a complicated relationship with fear. She pointed to an image on the wall, an early test pilot standing next to a dangerous-looking plane. This man knew he might die in that aircraft. It was new, untested. But he got in anyway. Why do you think he did that? Nix studied the image. Perhaps he was forced. No, Jiwoo said. He volunteered. In fact, there was a long list of pilots who wanted to be the first. She moved to another image, a woman diving into rough ocean waters to save someone. This person jumped into a dangerous sea to save a stranger. She risked her life for someone she didn't know. Nix's eyes narrowed. Your point, Captain. My point is that humans often do things that should terrify us. We climb mountains that could kill us. We explore caves deep underground. We jump out of flying aircraft for fun. We travel into space in ships that could fail at any moment. She turned to face the alien commander directly. You conquer through fear because it always worked before. But humans are different. We don't always avoid what scares us. Sometimes we run straight toward it. Nix made a low humming sound. This behavior is irrational. Fear exists to keep species alive. Yes, Jiwoo agreed. But humans learned something important in our evolution. We learned that sometimes what scares us is also what helps us grow. What terrifies us might also amaze us. She touched a control panel on the wall. The images changed to show stars, galaxies, and planets. Look at the universe, Commander. It's huge and dangerous and mostly unknown. By your logic, we should hide on our home planet and never leave. But we can't do that. We need to explore. We need to learn. We need to see what's out there, even if it might kill us. Nix was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, quieter. In all our conquests, we have never encountered a species that thinks this way. It is disturbing. Jiwoo smiled slightly. I imagine it is. Your entire system of control depends on other beings running from fear. But what happens when you meet a species that sometimes runs toward it? Back on the bridge, the crew watched the door to the history room nervously. What do you think is happening in there? Min-jae asked Do-hyun quietly. I don't know, Do-hyun replied. But the captain has a plan. We need to trust her. Sun-woo checked her weapon discreetly. I'm ready if things go badly. Hanul suddenly straightened at his station. Something's happening on the Voidborn ship. They're sending a lot of messages back and forth. The door to the history room opened. Jiwoo walked out, followed by Commander Nix. The captain's face was calm, but there was a new tension in the air. Captain Kim has given me much to consider, Nix announced to the room. I will return to my vessel to consult with the Dominion Council. He turned to Jiwoo. Your species is unusual, Captain. I am not yet sure if that is good or bad for you. After the aliens left, the crew gathered around Jiwoo. What happened? Sun-woo asked. I think I confused him, Jiwoo said with a small smile. And confusion is good. It gives us time. Time for what? Min-jae asked. To prepare our next move, Jiwoo replied. Hanul, what have you learned from their communications? Hanul brought up a display on his small computer. I've been studying the signals they send to each other. Most of it is still hard to understand, but I found something interesting. They seem to have some kind of ranking system based on how much fear each one can cause. That fits with what Nix told me. Jiwoo nodded. There's more, Hanul continued. Their species has a physical reaction to fear, both feeling it and causing it. When they make others afraid, their body chemistry changes. It's like a reward system. So, they're addicted to scaring others? Do-hyun asked. In a way, yes, Hanul said. And Captain, I think Nix is confused because you aren't showing the fear he expects. It's like he's not getting the reaction he's used to. Jiwoo's eyes lit up. That's it. That's what we can use. Use how? Sun-woo asked. The Voidborn have conquered dozens of species through fear. They expect all intelligent beings to react to fear the same way they do. But we don't. She began to pace the bridge, her mind racing. Think about it. Humans have sent thousands of ships like ours out into the universe. Every crew member volunteered knowing they might never return home. We chose to face the unknown. We chose to risk everything for discovery. But they could still destroy us, Min-jae pointed out. Their weapons are far stronger than ours. Yes, Jiwoo agreed. But destruction isn't what they want. They want control, and you can't control what you don't understand. She turned to Hanul. Can you send a message to the Voidborn ship? I want to speak with Commander Nix again. Now? Do-Yun asked, surprised. Yes, Jiwoo said firmly, while he's still confused, while he's still trying to figure us out. Hanul worked at his station. Message sent, Captain. The minutes stretched out as they waited for a reply. Finally, the communication system beeped. Commander Nix has agreed to meet with you, Hanul reported, but he wants you to come to their ship. The crew looked at Jiwoo with alarm. Captain, that's too dangerous, Sunwoo protested. We don't know what they'll do to you over there. Actually, I think we do, Jiwoo said calmly. They'll try to scare me, and that's exactly what I want. I don't understand, Do-Hyun said. Jiwoo's face grew serious. The Voidborn believe fear is universal, that it always works the same way for all species. I'm going to show Commander Nix that they're wrong. How? Min-jae asked. Jiwoo smiled, but there was something fierce in her eyes now. By not being afraid when I should be. By showing him that humans have something stronger than fear. And what's that? Hanul asked. Hope, Jiwoo said simply. And curiosity. And a stubborn refusal to be bullied even by beings with better technology. She looked around at her crew. I'm going to their ship. Do-Hyun, you're in command while I'm gone. If I don't return in 3 hours, take the Pathfinder and run. Get as far away as you can. Try to warn Earth. Captain... Sunwoo began to object. Jiwoo held up her hand. That's an order, Chief Choi. The mission comes first. Humanity comes first. As she prepared to leave for the alien vessel, Jiwoo felt strangely calm. She should have been terrified. But like many humans before her who had faced the unknown, she found herself more curious than afraid. What would she find on the Voidborn ship? What would she learn about these beings who ruled through fear? And most importantly, could she make them understand that humanity would not be conquered so easily? She was about to find out. Captain Jiwoo Kim stepped off the small shuttle and onto the floor of the Voidborn ship. The air felt heavy and smelled of something like wet stone and sweet metal. The gravity was slightly stronger than on the Pathfinder, making her feel heavier. 2 tall Voidborn guards waited for her. They did not speak but motioned for her to follow. Jiwoo walked between them, looking around with open curiosity. The inside of the alien ship was vast. The hallways were wide and tall, with strange patterns on the walls that seemed to move slightly when she looked at them. The lights were dim and blue, casting long shadows. They passed rooms filled with machines Jiwoo did not recognize. In other areas, she saw different alien species working. Some looked almost like large insects. Others had too many arms or eyes in strange places. None of them looked up as she passed. Finally, they reached a large door that slid open silently. The room beyond was huge, with a high ceiling that disappeared into darkness. At the center stood Commander Nix. Captain Kim, he said, his musical voice echoing. Welcome to the command vessel of the Voidborn Dominion. Thank you for inviting me, Commander, Jiwoo replied calmly. You show remarkable courage coming here alone, Nix observed. Or remarkable foolishness, Jiwoo smiled slightly. Depending on your point of view. Nix made a sound that might have been a laugh. Indeed. Please follow me. He led her to a raised platform at one end of the room. From there they could see a huge screen showing stars and planets. This is our territory, Nix explained, pointing to a large section of the map that glowed blue. 47 worlds, 12 major species, all under Voidborn rule. Impressive, Jiwoo said honestly. And this, Nix continued, pointing to a small dot at the edge of the map, is your Earth. Small, isolated, vulnerable. Jiwoo looked at the tiny representation of her home planet. It did look small and alone in the vastness of space. Yet not conquered, she pointed out. Not yet, Nix agreed. The Council is still deciding your fate. He turned to face her directly, all 6 of his eyes focused on her face. I have shown you our power, Captain Kim. You stand in the heart of a ship that could destroy your world with a single command. You are surrounded by beings who could end your life in seconds, yet you show no fear. Why? The question hung in the air between them. This was the moment Jiwoo had been waiting for. Because fear is not the only emotion humans feel when faced with the unknown or the powerful, she said. We also feel wonder, curiosity, even excitement. She stepped closer to Nyx, looking up at his towering form. When humans first looked up at the stars, we didn't just feel fear of the darkness, we felt a need to explore it. When we saw mountains, we didn't just see danger, we saw a challenge. When we met oceans, we didn't just see drowning, we saw new lands to discover. Nyx made a low humming sound. This is not rational. Perhaps not, Jiwoo agreed. But it's human, and it's why your usual methods of conquest won't work on us. She gestured around at the massive ship. Yes, you could destroy us. You have the technology, the weapons, but humans don't give up easily. We don't surrender just because we're afraid. Every species surrenders when afraid enough, Nyx stated, as if it was a simple fact. That's where you're wrong, Jiwoo said, firmly. Human history is full of people who faced terrible fears and still fought on. People who stood against armies with nothing but their courage. People who died for ideas, for freedom, for the future. She walked to the screen showing the map and pointed to Earth. You see a small planet, easy to conquer. I see the home of billions of humans who would fight to their last breath rather than live as slaves. People who would keep fighting even after you thought you had won. Nyx was silent for a long moment. Then he made a gesture with one hand. The room darkened, and new images appeared on the screen. Planets burning, cities in ruins, alien beings kneeling before void-born soldiers. This is what happens to those who resist, Nyx said. His voice was quieter now, but somehow more threatening. Jiwoo looked at the images without flinching. I understand. You're trying to scare me, Commander. But let me ask you something. In all your conquests, have you ever found happiness? Peace? Friendship? Nyx seemed confused by the question. Those are not goals of conquest. No, Jiwoo agreed. They're goals of exploration, of cooperation, of seeing others as equals rather than subjects. She paused. They're goals of humanity. Your words mean nothing, Nyx said, but Jiwoo thought she heard uncertainty in his voice. The Dominion conquers. That is our purpose. And what happens when you meet a species that refuses to be conquered? Jiwoo asked. What happens when fear doesn't work? Before Nyx could answer, the door opened and another Voidborn entered. This one was smaller, with scales that were darker in color. Supreme Commander, the new alien said with a deep bow. The Council request your presence. Nyx seemed annoyed by the interruption. Stay here, Captain Kim, I will return shortly. After Nyx left, Jiwoo was alone in the vast room. She took the chance to look more closely at the technology around her. The screens, the controls, the strange devices built into the walls. It was all far beyond human science. But she also noticed something interesting. On a small table near, the platform was what looked like a personal device of some kind. Jiwoo moved closer and saw that it was showing images of Earth, cities, oceans, mountains, and people. Humans doing everyday things. Nyx had been studying humanity. Not just their weapons or technology, but their lives, their habits, their relationships. When the commander returned, his manner had changed. He seemed more formal, more distant. The Council has reviewed all data on your species, he announced. They find humans to be unusual. We get that a lot, Jiwoo said with a small smile. Your behavior patterns do not match any species we have encountered before. Your reaction to fear is abnormal. Your willingness to take risks is excessive. From your perspective, maybe, Jiwoo said. From ours, it's just being human. Nyx moved closer to her. He was so tall that Jiwoo had to tilt her head back to look at his face. Why aren't you afraid, human? He asked directly. His voice was low, almost a whisper. Look at me. Look at what I represent. I could destroy your vessel with a single command. I could end your civilization. Why do you stand before me without trembling? This was the moment everything depended. Jiwoo took a deep breath and looked directly into Nix's 6 yellow eyes. Because, Commander, humans have something more powerful than fear. And what is that? Nix demanded. Hope, Jiwoo replied simply, and curiosity, and a rather stubborn refusal to be bullied, even by beings with better technology. She stepped back and spread her hands. You could destroy us, yes, but you'd never understand us. We'd be the first species you failed to truly conquer. For a long moment, Nix was completely still. Then he made a sound Jiwoo had not heard before. It was sharp and strange. Your answer is unexpected, he finally said. The words came out slowly as if he was thinking carefully about each one. The Council will need to reconsider their approach to humanity. Jiwoo felt a small surge of hope. Had she actually gotten through to him? Return to your ship, Captain. Kim, Nix ordered. There will be no further inspections. We will contact you when the Council reaches its decision. As Jiwoo was escorted back to the shuttle, she noticed the Voidborn guards looking at her differently. Their eyes followed her, with what seemed like curiosity rather than coldness. When she returned to the Pathfinder, her crew was waiting anxiously. Captain, Do-Yun exclaimed, we were worried when you stayed so long. What happened? Sun-Woo asked. Did they threaten you? Jiwoo smiled tiredly. They tried to, but I think I gave Commander Nix something new to think about. What happens now? Min-jae asked. Now we wait, Jiwoo said. The Voidborn Council is reconsidering their approach to humanity. Is that good or bad? Hanul wondered. Jiwoo looked out the window at the massive alien ship. I don't know, but I think we've shown them that humans aren't like the other species they've conquered, and that's a start. As the crew returned to their duties, Jiwoo remained at the window. She had taken an enormous risk today. She had faced the commander of a powerful alien empire and told him that humanity would not be ruled through fear. Now they would see if her gamble paid off, or if she had just doomed her species to destruction. 3 days passed without any word from the Voidborn ship. The crew of the Pathfinder tried to continue their normal duties, but it was hard to focus with the massive alien vessel looming outside their windows. Captain Jiwoo Kim spent most of her time on the bridge, watching and waiting. She looked tired but determined. Still nothing? She asked Hanul, who sat at the communication station. No response to our messages, Captain, he replied. But they're still scanning us constantly. At least they haven't destroyed us yet, Sun-Woo said from her security post. That's something. Do-Yun approached Jiwoo quietly. The crew is getting nervous, Captain. 3 days with no communication. They're wondering what's happening. So am I, Jiwoo admitted. But we need to be patient. The Voidborn are deciding the fate of humanity. That's not a quick decision even for them. Min-jae looked up from his engineering station. Maybe they don't know what to do with us. You gave Commander Nix something new to think about. I hope so, Jiwoo said. She turned to look out at the stars and the dark shape of the alien ship blocking part of the view. I hope I didn't just make things worse. Suddenly, Hanul straightened in his chair. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Voidborn vessel. Jiwoo took a deep breath. On screen. The main screen flickered to life. Commander Nix appeared, but something was different about him. His posture seemed less threatening, more formal. His multiple eyes blinked in a pattern Jiwoo hadn't seen before. Captain Kim, he began, his musical voice filling the bridge. The Dominion Council has completed its review of all information regarding your species. Jiwoo stood tall, her face calm, even though her heart was racing. And what has the Council decided, Commander? Your response to our presence has been unusual, Nix said. No species we have encountered reacts to fear the way humans do. This presents complications. Complications for conquest, you mean? Jiwoo said. Yes. Nix's eyes blinked in sequence. Our standard methods would be less effective with humanity. Jiwoo felt a small surge of hope but kept her face neutral. What does that mean for us, Commander? Nix was silent for a moment. Then he made a sound that the translator identified as laughter. though it sounded more like rough stones grinding together. In 47 conquests, Captain Kim, no species has ever suggested alternatives to their own subjugation. The commander shifted his position slightly. The council finds humanity's reaction intriguing. Intriguing enough to leave us alone? Jiwoo asked directly. The council proposes a different approach, Nick said. Not conquest, but study. An exchange of knowledge between our civilizations. Controlled contact rather than subjugation. Do-yoon and Sunwoo exchanged surprised looks. Min-jae's mouth dropped open. Hanul turned to stare at Jiwoo. The captain maintained her composure. That would be acceptable to us, Commander. Learning about new civilizations is our mission, after all. There is one more matter, Nix continued. Something that has troubled the council greatly. What is that? Jiwoo asked. When I asked why you weren't afraid, Nick said, you spoke of hope. This concept does not translate well in our language. The council requests that you explain it further. Now it was Jiwoo's turn to be surprised. She hadn't expected this. She thought for a moment before answering. Hope is difficult to define, Commander, she began. It's the belief that things can get better, that the future can be good, even when the present is hard. It's what makes humans keep trying even when the chances of success are small. And this hope is more powerful than fear? Nix asked. He sounded genuinely confused. For humans, yes, Jiwoo said. Fear tells us what to avoid. Hope tells us what to work toward. Without hope, we would never have left our planet. We would never have built ships like the Pathfinder. We would never have met you. Commander Nix was silent for a long time. His 6 eyes never left Jiwoo's face. The council will consider this concept, he finally said. It is very different from our way of thinking. Perhaps that is why your species behaves as it does. After the communication ended, the bridge erupted in excited talk. The crew could hardly believe what had happened. Did we just avoid war by confusing them with human psychology? Min-jae asked, his eyes wide. I think we did, Jiwoo said with a small smile. And maybe we opened the door to something better than war. Over the next few days, the situation changed dramatically. The Voidborn ship moved away from the Pathfinder, giving them space. Then small teams from both ships began meeting to share information. The Voidborn were most interested in human art stories and history. They seemed fascinated by tales of human explorers and heroes who faced great dangers for reasons the aliens couldn't understand. A week after the council's decision, Jiwoo met with Commander Nix one more time. They walked together in the garden section of the Pathfinder, where plants from Earth grew in special containers. Your planet has much beauty, Nix observed, looking at a small flowering plant. We have seen the images your people have shared. Earth is beautiful, Jiwoo agreed, but it's just one planet. There are so many more to explore. That desire to explore, Nix said, even when it is dangerous. That is what the council found most interesting about humans. And most confusing? Jiwoo asked with a small smile. Yes, Nix admitted. The Voidborn have traveled the stars for thousands of your years, but we do so to expand our empire, not for hope. He said the last word carefully, as if it was still strange to him. Perhaps that's something we can teach each other, Jiwoo suggested. We can learn about your technology and history. You can learn about our hope and curiosity. The council has approved a formal agreement, Nix said. Our ships will escort the Pathfinder back to your territory. Then we will establish proper diplomatic relations with Earth. Jiwoo felt a wave of relief wash over her. So humanity is safe? For now, Nix said. His tone was not threatening, just honest. The future is unknown, Captain Kim. But the Dominion has decided that humanity is more valuable as an ally than as a conquered people. Because we confused you, Jiwoo said with a smile. Because you showed us something new, Nix corrected. In thousands of years of conquest, the Voidborn have never encountered a species that responded to fear with hope. It is refreshing. Later that evening, after the commander had returned to his ship, Jiwoo gathered her senior officers in the meeting room. We did it, she told them. We've established peaceful contact with the Voidborn Dominion. Earth is safe. Thanks to you, Captain, Do-Yun said. The others nodded in agreement. No, Ji-Woo shook her head. Thanks to humanity. All I did was show Commander Nix who we really are. Do you think they'll keep their word? Sun-Woo asked. Can we trust them? Trust will take time, Ji-Woo said. But we've made a start. We've shown them that not every species in the universe can be controlled through fear. That alone changes everything they thought they knew. That night, Ji-Woo stood alone in her room, looking out at the stars. The Voidborn ship was still visible, but it no longer seemed as threatening. Tomorrow they would begin the journey home, with the aliens as escorts rather than conquerors. She thought about Commander Nix's surprise when she had explained hope to him. A being from a civilization, thousands of years older than humanity, yet he had never encountered this simple human concept before. Computer, record log entry, Ji-Woo said. First contact with the Voidborn Dominion has ended in peace rather than war. I cannot say what the future holds, but I believe we have shown them something important about humanity. In the vastness of space, among beings far more powerful than us, our greatest strength may not be our technology or weapons, but our stubborn refusal to let fear define us. She paused, looking at the distant stars. And perhaps in time we might teach them what it means to hope. As the Pathfinder prepared to return to Earth, with the Voidborn ship now beside them rather than against them, Ji-Woo felt a new sense of purpose. This was why humans explored the stars. Not just to find new worlds or resources, but to find new ways of thinking, new possibilities. They had faced a powerful alien empire that conquered through fear, and they had shown those aliens that there was something in the universe stronger than fear. Hope. The journey home began.